Placebo. UTSUTSU. Finally, we're here. I hope you like the look of my new thumbnail for this. In case you didn't notice, I use different thumbnails for each story arc. In March of 1979, an incident which would come to be known as the Silver Case occurred. Okay, we know about that we kinda know about it because of the Silver Case game, but much of that is still mysterious. The suspect's name was Kamui Uehara. Kamui Uehara was apprehended by a man named Tetsugoro Kusabi, a 24-year-old fledgling detective at the time. Little is known about Kamui Uehara, such as what sort of person he was, etc. However, there are several facts that have been passed down over the years, almost like an urban legend. The fact that Kamui Uehara committed his crimes in midwinter. The fact that he used some sort of special customized harpoon gun, which is pretty fucking badass if you ask me. The fact that he killed suspects and material witnesses in cases of crimes and human-caused disasters who couldn't be tried in court under existing laws. So he's kinda like a vigilante, I guess? We didn't know, or did we know about this yet? I mean, we knew that he killed people of the, or rather people for the TRO and CCO and what they're called, but we didn't know that he did it for the greater good, did we? The fact that he possessed a rarely witnessed attribute known as criminal power. Criminal power! It is unknown whether Kamui Uehara kills because he is contracted by someone or because he wants to kill. No, I think by now we know that he kills because he is contracted, right? It was assumed that the various mysteries surrounding this man would be solved in the interrogation after his arrest or during the ensuing court case. But what happened? However, 5 years after his arrest, in August of 1984, Kamui Uehara was diagnosed with severe psychosis and his criminal trial was cancelled. In September of the same year, it was decided that preferential measures would be implemented and he was admitted to the Kanto 24th Ward IMM Hospital Psychiatric Ward, where he later escaped. To this day, it is unknown whether anyone has heard the man known as Kamui Uehara speak words with any sort of meaning since the time of his arrest. I like the little picture of Kusabi in the bottom right. Oh, and I like this music. Information concerning the Silver Case is even less abundant. While the name of the case is famous, almost no actual details of the incident are known. Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds like those games. Those who are specially informed, or the type that is especially into conspiracy theories and the like, may have heard tell of the following details of the case. At the end of the 70s, after having been dissolved and split up following a long struggle for power, the remaining hardliners of the FSO Frontier Conservative faction hired a hitman as their last resort. You see, he was hired. One day, the TRO, Techno faction, and CCO, Civic faction, that is, the two parties making up the current government, and also the factions responsible for driving off the FSO, held a meeting of 10 old men. I like how they just take it for granted that you can tell all these different factions apart. Maybe it's just me because I'm incredibly stupid, but it's really hard for me to wrap my head around who is in which faction, what this specific faction did in the past or does right now, and what their goals are. So I know that the CCO, for example, is the police force and stuff. I think I've got that right, but whatever. They held a meeting of 10 old men because everything needs to be decided by 10 old men. These men were the respective parties' most important members, of course. It was there that a man appeared. After using a special customized harpoon gun to kill every member of the meeting, I like to think that he lined them all up in one straight line and shot through one and pooned all the others straight through. You know, one shot, 10 kills. Triple, hyper, super, ultra kill. The man was arrested. It was Kamui Ohara. Yes, his name was Kamui Ohara. With all of the victims being old men, this incident came to be known as the Silver Case. So it had nothing to do with the silverization of the eyes or whatever we've read about in the first game. This came afterwards, maybe. Of course, no matter where, nor how deeply one may search, no public records of this incident exist anywhere. But Kamui also looked pretty badass back then. The next time the man supposedly undergoing treatment showed his face to the world, it was March of 1999. The woman in charge of Kamui Ohara's counseling at IMM hospital at the time was killed, and Kamui Ohara subsequently disappeared from the hospital. Yeah, we remember this. At least, if you remember the Silver Case game, you remember this case. As he continued to evade apprehension, for example, in the fucking forest where the police force got killed, the violent crimes piled up. 2 female civilians were killed with the harpoon gun. Additionally, 2 agents of the Special Forces Unit Republic were also killed while attempting to apprehend Kamui Ohara. Daigo Natsume, the acting leader of that unit, sustained critical injuries. This is the father of Sakura. As the murderer of law, reappeared in the real world and started killing once again, people began to tremble in fear, and some began to worship him. At this time, the internet had not yet become widespread and was still no more than an underground toy, but possibly due to its close relationship with Kamui Ohara, it served to accelerate his deification and helped him to permeate society even deeper than the mass media could. Which is, if we think about it today, a thing that also happens, right? Oh god, please stop. Please stop, this is one long ass sentence. Anyway, today, oftentimes the media doesn't disclose the names of or pictures of mass murderers or school shooters or something because they don't want them to be worshipped. And I think this is the right move, since Jesus Christ, these people, they do it because they're fucking sick in their heads and want the attention. And if you give them the attention, if you give them the feeling that there are people out there that look up to them, God, they would have something to gain by doing this, and we don't want them to have anything to gain by killing people, basically. And I know this is a game, but in a weird way, the Silver Case predicted many things happening in the future, didn't it? I mean, alone with this alone. Then again, maybe when did this come out? When did the original Silver Case release? Maybe back then there was like same stance already in the media that you don't name school shooters or something. I don't know. I don't know what of this is like future prediction because Suda is a fucking genius, or what already existed back then. Because I think when the Silver Case was released in its original form, I was a little bubby, basically. Anyway, let's just continue on and stop my rambling. Additionally, the specific environment of the government special administrative region, known officially as the 24th Ward, which was set up as an experimental area, was similar to the net. The common points between these two entities was the fact that while comfortable and convenient, it was a constantly monitored and closed-off world, which gave its denizens the feeling that they were being deprived of something. Metropolitan Police Department 24 Ward's Heinous Crimes Unit christened a series of incidents occurring in March of 1999 with the name the Kamui Case. Heinous Crimes Unit 2 was home to Tetsugoro Kusabi. There he is again in the background. He's such a badass dude, holy shit. However, it was later revealed that Kamui Ohara, who had supposedly escaped from the hospital, was actually catatonic in an almost totally vegetative state. Yes, we remember this as well. He was unable to do anything apart from eating and sleeping, let alone fatally wound anyone. The actual perpetrator of these serial killings was Ayame Shimohira, a woman with a special relationship with Kamui. Yes, she was in love with him. And she was pregnant of him, right? Like every other woman that got killed. Do I remember this right? The term criminal power may as well have been created by Kamui himself. Criminal power is said to be contagious. This is apparently especially true in the 24th ward. Maybe Kamui Uehara's criminal power found its way into Ayame Shimohira and caused her to act as his copycat? That may be the case, and it may not be. Ayame Shimohira was apprehended and taken into custody by Heinous Crimes Unit 2 Special Agent Sumio Kodai. Our lovely boy Sumio. It was 1999 and winter was closing in. True criminal power was about to show its fangs. Kamui Uehara suddenly escaped from the hospital and managed to make a comeback that nobody expected. After a month-long silence, Kamui murdered 7 important government officials in the A1 district at the center of the 24th ward. Then he disappeared. The situation grew stranger still. On November 30th, Kamui Uehara died abruptly. With reports that a man thought to be Kamui Uehara had infiltrated the International Environment Building, a special team put together specifically for the elimination of Kamui Uehara enacted measures to capture him and force the suspect to the roof of the building. Upon receiving the signal, sharpshooters placed in the surrounding buildings took aim and fired upon their mark all at once. Yeah, that was pretty fucking gruesome and unnecessary if you ask me. The target was eliminated immediately. The body was destroyed to the point of showing no resemblance to its original form, so badly that it was impossible to tell whether or not it really was the man who was arrested 20 years prior. That's weird that they bring this up, isn't it? It's kinda like they want you to think maybe it wasn't Kamui Uehara who got forced up to the roof and got shot. Weird. Data pertaining to the DNA of this Kamui Uehara has never been released. Okay. I take that for granted. Everything written up to this point covers the surface and the background of this case. The background of the background, as well as the even deeper layers, are so complicated and incoherent as to be almost nonsensical. Sounds like Suda, to be honest. The origin of the whole story goes back 20 years prior to 1999. That is to say, to the time when the silver case occurred. Someone, or some group of organizations, used the budget set aside for the newly built International Environment Ministry building to begin the directly controlled project known as the Shelter Kids Policy. The goal of the project was to develop an educational system appropriate for the high-level administrative metropolitan environment. Those are some big boy words. That was the 24th ward. Over 1,000 4-year-old boys were gathered in the shelter compound, where they ate, slept, and were put through a specific curriculum created to shape their personalities into certain patterns. The main point of the program was to insert artificial processes into the development of the ego and sense of self of the subjects while they were still young in order to force their respective personalities and thought processes to conform to a specific mold. Wow. The children were subjected to endless cycles of the same simple, repetitive tasks, which gradually cut away at their egos. The personality set as the base for that which was... What? The personality set as the base for that which was planted in the minds of the shelter kids originated in Kamui Uehara, because we all want our 1,004-year-old kids to be like a mass murderer who kills at the snap of a finger like Thanos or something, right? Oh god. In essence, the Shelter Kids policy was fundamentally an experiment for the purpose of creating mental clones of Kamui Uehara. Due to this, the project was called Kamui Maspro. Maspro meaning mass production. Oh, holy shit, this explains a lot. Also, some refer to the original Kamui as Format Kamui, with format referring to the fact that this Kamui was basically the mold from which all future Kamuis would be created. Why was Kamui Uehara selected as the original format? There are several theories to explain this. One of these theories is that Kamui Ohara was like a machine, unaffected by emotion, cold and robotic, and therefore able to carry out his assigned duties efficiently and without question. Therefore, as long as his criminal power was somehow removed, he would make a perfect mold for the people said to inhabit a strictly controlled and administered society of the 24th Ward. But what if, just thinking here, what if the criminal power is the thing that makes him into a perfect mold, because the criminal power kills his emotions? Have you ever thought about this, you fucking old man? Jesus Christ, how can you overlook something as easy as this? However, criminal power is like a type of mental energy and is extremely difficult to control or subdue. Some scholars reject the idea of its very existence. Idiots. But making direct contact with Kamui Ohara makes it clear that he does indeed possess some sort of power. As mentioned above, criminal power is contagious. People who make direct contact with Kamui Ohara are stimulated by a sort of shock, experience a kind of emotional reaction, and can feel compulsions and urges rising up inside themselves. I only feel that way when I see Ayane, but it's alright. Some people call criminal power a virus. This project, in its poorly executed attempt to analyze and copy Kamui Ohara, may have touched on something with which it should not have made contact. However, gathering the testimonies of people deeply involved in the project, it seems like that may have been the actual goal of the project from the beginning. It could be said that the Kamui Maspro project was meant for the research and development of criminal power itself. Once again, the loop of doubt begins anew. What exactly was Kamui Ohara? A certain notebook contains information on this. The notebook contains writings pertaining to the origins of Format Kamui and something known as the Kamui system. Those not familiar with Kamui would think of it as a bunch of occult nonsense. This is the underside of the whole story. It could even be called something of a fairy tale. Kamui Ohara was born on a certain island and at the age of 2 had the eyeball of a non-primate quadrupedal animal transplanted into his left eye as part of an ancient ritual of the indigenous tribe of that island. What? This is weird. The transplanted left eye turned silver. Okay, I mean, this is all suspension of disbelief, right? You just have to take it at face value. And then you get a good story, which is the silver case. And I like a good story. The changing of the color to silver was supposedly a sign that the progress of the program of death inside the bearer had temporarily stopped. So he's invincible, immortal. The silver eye steals the crucial function of death from the living. That is to say, it makes the bearer essentially immortal. So the whole eye silverization thing seriously started because of some nutty tribes that did this without any medical help or something on some sort of fucking remote island? And then they tried to recreate this? Seriously? Just because it worked on Kamui? And thus the fucking mayor got immortal? And later on Tokyo as well? What? I say again, suspension of disbelief. Let's just take it. Additionally, this renders the existence known as Kamui a metaphysical being. It makes it possible to transmit or transplant the being known as Kamui to another person, if there is someone to receive it. It would be possible to transplant Kamui if one were able to find a naturally born blood relative of Kamui's, or someone from the same clan, or at least someone with similar personality. Well, that shouldn't be too hard, right? However, if there were man-made mental clones of Kamui, then this process would go even more smoothly, or at least the scientists behind the Kamui Maspro project believed so. Kamui dies, and if the next physical body to host the transplant is found, then the next Kamui is born. Just make him fuck someone, seriously. It's way easier than making clones, making kids. According to old law, within the potential Kamui stock, there exists the one charged with protecting the next Kamui. There are also others to whom other duties are assigned, like, Ayame, right? This is the general outline of the Kamui system. The most crucial point to those who are aware of these secrets is the fact that it is possible for a normal person to take the silver eye and make it their own. Yes, we've seen this. By replacing their own eye with the silver one, it is possible for a person to gain the power of immortality, like Major Hachizuka, right? This is true even for those who were not originally shelter kids. It is possible as long as the Kamui system continues to work. This is where a certain man who wanted the silver eye for himself had an idea. He could simply cultivate the field known as the Kamui system. If criminal power could be controlled, then the shelter kids would become easily controllable citizens. If necessary, this criminal power could be awakened, providing excellent soldiers in times of need. Then, the eyes of animals would be transplanted into the subjects, and if one of them turned silver, it could be taken. Okay. The silver eye could also be sold. Yeah, because that's what you want. You want someone else to be immortal as well. What? The Kamui Maspero project began with various speculations getting mixed up and confused, but the reason the Shelter Kids policy was able to receive such huge amounts of funding was because of the fact that if the mechanism causing this rare and powerful ocular transition, yeah, silver ocular something, that's what it was called, could be explained and harnessed, there were clearly huge profits to be made. The funding was essentially investment money for creating a production facility for silver eyes. It is said that the main investor was the TRO, the Techno Faction. TRO was originally centered on resource development based on molecular biology technology and its applications. However, the Kamui Maspero project was not able to achieve the desired results so easily. 4 years after the Kamui Maspero project, under direction from an organization that can be traced back to the FSO Frontier Conservative Faction, the Ayame Maspero project began. Based on the previous project. So I get why they tried to recreate Kamui, but let's see why they tried to make someone new entirely now. It seemed like simply a new project with only the gender switched. But this experiment placed the utmost importance on creating an even more robotic and machine-like soldier. There were also those who felt that a sort of counter-existence to Kamui was necessary. The original persona used as the mold for format Kamui was used once again. In the end, it is said that neither the Kamui Maspero nor Ayame Maspero project was able to recreate the occurrence of the silver eye. However, there were 272 subjects who were able to reach the step just prior to this recreation. Which is having an animal eye implanted onto you? But it didn't turn silver? I guess this is the step prior. Anyway, after that the Shelter Kids policy, which had continued for 8 years, was suddenly put to a stop. Both of the projects, as well as the administrative entities, were disbanded and dismantled. What happened to the Shelter Kids? The Kamui stock comprised 1,440 people, and the Ayame stock comprised the same number of children as well. These boys and girls were basically tossed out into the 24th ward. Some of them spent their lives as ordinary ward residents, being woven into the Kamui system while waiting for their time to come. This means that the field known as the Kamui system, while incomplete, did indeed continue to exist. On the other hand, some of the subjects were thrown out of the system altogether. These were the ones who were not considered good enough or useful enough for Kamui stock. There have also been rumors that still more of the Shelter Kids were more than simple mental clones of Kamui. Some are said to have been actual blood relatives to the original format Kamui himself. How would that work? He really made kids? I mean, I guess he did. The kids we've seen in the silver case were his kids. Let's bring the topic back to 1999. Yes, let's. The Kamui incident reawakened the past of the silver case, causing a large number of people to die. This is this is a fact that must not be forgotten. Kaiichi and Sawa, dead. And Sawa. The name doesn't ring a bell, so if you know who he is, tell me in the comments. Shinji Kotobuki, dead. The chief of the HC unit and the 24 wards. Also involved in the silver case. Just like Kiyoshi Morikawa, also HC unit, dead. Chizuru Hachizuka, the only woman possibly hotter than Ayame, dead. I mean, this picture alone, Jesus fucking Christ. Morishika Nakadegawa, dead. Also HC unit, but I think working for the FSO or something in secret. He was kind of like a traitor to the HC unit, I think. He took over when the chief died and then hunted Kusabi. I think that's what I remember. Ryo Munakata, dead. Yeah, top right. The dude who always gave Kusabi information and a member of the CCO, I think. On the other hand, there are some who survived. Let's see, who survived? Ayame Shimohira, alive. Oh, God damn it, Ayame, look at her. She's such a cutie pie. Sumiya Kodai, alive. Tetsugoro Kusabi, alive. Sakura Natsumi, alive. Also, man, what the fuck is up with the cuties in this game? Maybe, I don't know, is it because they're all, oh my god. Do I have a hard-on for Kamui because all the Ayame Mass Pros are based on Kamui as well? Whatever. However, there is no guarantee that this list is completely accurate. Some of those thought to be dead may still be alive, and the opposite is also possible. One thing that needs to be said in closing is that sometimes miscalculations happen. This is especially true with conspiracies and works of sinister design. This is because the sun is always watching from above. One such miscalculation was the decision to produce Ayame along with Kamui. Maybe nobody stopped to think about what the opposition, the struggle for supremacy, and the cross-fertilization between Kamui and Ayame would bring. Kayame. While the original intent was to create a man-made mass production factory for humans, they may have simply been creating a nest for Kamui himself, like worker bees. Furthermore, what about the rejected Kamui clones? With regard to possible meanings and purposes for their very existence, sadly, nothing comes to mind. Let us now delve further into the underside of the background of the whole story. I like this sentence. The underside of the background. It's a weird expression. The theory that Kamui Ohara never even existed in the first place. Or rather, he did indeed exist, but not as a hitman. It is said that he existed only as an ordinary ward resident. This theory appears to be true. If so, then several prerequisite conditions are rendered nil, but the true villain of the other story, of the other silver case, would be Kaoru Hachizuka. That's right. Your father. Wait, is he talking to... what? Again, let's just take it. If I just leave you with this little thought, I'm sure you'll come to remember all sorts of pertinent information. Well then, from here on, I'm going to use hypnotic suggestion to seal off all of these records and memories. Once you find a mobile phone number hidden inside a turtle and open your mail, this memo should reach your phone after a few hours. Oh, okay. A crow is none the whiter for washing. This is an old expression that means that something naturally black will always be black. You cannot change the true essence of a thing. So, you heard it here first. Whitewashing isn't real. At least, I hope so, that I can continue to be me, for as long as I am around. Bam, that's it. UTSUTSU done. Basically just a quick recap of the Silver Case game and what came before. Nice. So, just in case you didn't remember what happened in the Silver Case. Just like me. It's not that I'm smarter now, because many of these things still are pretty confusing, but at least it's a little refresher on our memories, right? Alright, that's it. It's a pretty long video today, but I don't want to cut this. I think it would work best in one single sitting. So next time, case 1 in Placebo, Nagate. Bye.